Or is this full-time MMA now?
I love full-time MMA right now.
Full-time MMA?
MMA,
Nothing
yeah.
else?
My life, man, yeah.
Back to the daily grind, and shout out to the full-time patrons. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, because you know what time it is. It's full-time
MMA.
And Aaron Pico, the brightest prospect in MMA, not Bellator, not the UFC. I'm talking about a kid with the brightest potential, man. This kid is a future, not just champion. This kid is a future, like, champ. That's the type of potential this kid has coming into MMA. I mean, just, that's the type of, you know, if you listen to Aaron Pico's story, if you've heard the story of Aaron Pico, you know he's been training to be a mixed martial artist almost his whole life. So he's got the skills, he's got the training partners, he's got the push, he's got everything it takes to become one of the biggest stars in MMA in the future. Right now he's fighting for Bellator MMA, but he's still one of the best prospects in MMA period, not just Bellator. So with that being said, this kid Aaron Pico, and you might be thinking, man, if you don't know about Aaron Pico, who is he talking about? Well, if you don't want to take it from me, take it from UFC champion TJ Dillashaw, who's the best bantamweight in the world right now. Just came off that win over Cody Garbrandt. It was a close fight. They got a rematch coming up. But TJ Dillashaw has now claimed that bantamweight belt twice in his career, and he's beat the best to ever do it. You know what I'm saying, as far as claiming the belt. It was a close split decision loss with Dominic Cruz. He wasn't actually able to beat him. So as far as beating the kingpin of the bantamweight division, he wasn't able to do that. But to be fair, Cody Garbrandt looked great against Dominic Cruz, and TJ Dillashaw was able to finish Cody Garbrandt in that second round. So TJ Dillashaw, as far as his skills are concerned as well, even when he wasn't the champion, was fighting the best in the world, fighting #1 contender after #1 contender to earn his title shot back. So TJ Dillashaw, one of the best to ever do it. And with that being said, we've all also heard about TJ Dillashaw's training, one of the hardest workers in the training room, even to the point where some people think it gets a little dirty. Hell, we saw TJ Dillashaw hit a teammate or two after the bell in sparring. But with that being said, some people look at it the wrong way, but that might be what it takes to become a UFC champion. One of the hardest workers and one of the best bantamweights in the world. So with that being said, that's who we're dealing with in TJ Dillashaw, TJ Killashaw, and he's co-signing Aaron Pico. This is what he had to say. The kid's an animal. He said, one of a kind, just even watching him wrestle when he was 16 years old and beating grown men in the toughest sport in the world, in my mind, wrestling, and just how tough he was then and how competitive, then getting to know who Aaron Pico is. The kid's a champ. Even if he's not it yet, he is. In no time, he will be. So that's a cosign from one of the best bantamweights in the world right there. So Aaron Pico, if you're not already, keep your eye on Aaron Pico. This is a guy that has a lot of promise and potential in his MMA career. I mean, and just to tell you a story about the potential of Aaron Pico, I didn't know who Aaron Pico was at first, and the person that came up to me, I had heard a little bit about Aaron Pico, but I wasn't as sold on him yet. I didn't know his, you know, how big of a star, future star he could be, until my brother came up to me. He's a casual fan of the sport. He couldn't tell you 2 Bellator champions, but it was like before Bellator 200, I believe. And, you know, I was doing my thing, just working on the channel back here in the office. He came up to me, hey, when is Aaron Pico fighting? I said, how do you know about Aaron Pico? He said, oh man, I just read an article on ESPN. Aaron Pico is the truth. He's been training, you know, and he read an art. He's one of the casual fans. Like, he keeps up with other sports, but not as much MMA. So he reads like the ESPN articles. So he read enough on Aaron Pico's story at that point to believe in Aaron Pico. Now, Aaron Pico did lose his MMA debut. It was at Bellator 200, like the biggest Bellator event before the, you know, one of the biggest Bellator events in history. Madison Square Garden, maybe his very first pro fight, you know, a little bit of octagon jitters. But ever since then, Aaron Pico has delivered on the hype. He's got, I believe, first round KOs in each of his fights since then. I believe he's 3-1 since then. And he's got devastating liver shot that he's been finishing his opponents with. But Aaron Pico, man, he's been delivering on the hype. And with that being said, here's a huge cosign from TJ Dillashaw. And he trains with a lot of high-level, I mean, if you're training with TJ Dillashaw and he's talking about how much of a beast you are and you're only like fucking 21, 22 years old, this kid's got a serious future in MMA. So with that being said, it is what it is. Aaron Pico gets a big cosign from not only your boy, big full-time MMA, but more importantly, UFC champion TJ Dillashaw. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. And as always, thanks for checking out this video. If you're new or if you're just slipper slacking on your pimping, make sure you hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell next to it so you're notified every time I upload a video. And if you want to help support this independent channel, you can either click the PayPal button in the description or you can go to patreon.com/fulltimemma and consider becoming a patron. I'm out.
This is #1 bullshit.